Tonight, packing a punch, Cyclone Narelle barrels towards Queensland, with the Northern Territory bracing for impact this weekend. Also, the PM moves to calm fuel fears with the new supply task force to shore up supplies. The war in the Middle East escalates further as Israel strikes the world's biggest natural gas field. And a right royal welcome for Queen Mary as she returns to her hometown of Hobart. Welcome to ABC News, I'm Michael Tetlow. First, people in far north Queensland may be used to cyclones, but what's heading for the Cape tonight is in no way ordinary. Cyclone Narelle is currently a Category 5 and expected to make landfall tomorrow morning. The communities are remote and a cyclone of this size has the potential to do serious damage.
As the wind and rain set in, locals are preparing for conditions to get much, much worse. Winds in excess of 250 kilometres an hour and more than half a metre of rain a day are forecast for between Cooktown and Lockhart River.
The type of wind that is being predicted is the sort of thing that will blow apart sheds, that will blow caravans down roadways and create fields of airborne debris.
Knock, knock.
Police used the final hours of relative calm to door-knock residents in Cowan and Lockhart River.
Just make sure everyone's all right, it's getting squared away.
Locals bracing for the force of Cyclone Narelle's arrival tomorrow morning, with power potentially out for a number of days.
Water, toilet paper.
The communities, they're really pulling together. Everyone's been helping each other clean out their yards.
It's now expected to cross as a Category 5 system.
It's looking like it'll move just to the north of Cape Melville and then cross the coast nearly directly east of Cowan.
It's an area that's no stranger to wild weather. But residents are being warned against complacency, with the system expected to maintain its strength long after crossing the coast.
Category 5 systems don't cross the coast that frequently. 4 times in half a century in Queensland, in what is a state that's no stranger to disasters.
The system is set to linger over the north into next week, moving from Cape York into the Northern Territory and across Western Australia, bringing heavy rain and strong winds. But with multiple alerts across Queensland's far north, it's an anxious wait for communities as they hunker down and wait. Christy Sexton-McGrath, ABC News.
Meanwhile, in the Northern Territory, communities are also waiting nervously, with authorities urging everyone in Narelle's path to prepare now.
Still reeling from flooding, now facing the 7th major weather event in just 5 months.
Tropical cyclone Narelle is forecast to impact Groote Island and the eastern top-end communities late Saturday and into Sunday.
It's on track to enter the territory as a Category 3 system, passing over Numbulwar and Nooka before weakening and continuing across the top end.
It's likely to impact Katherine and those already flooded communities, even including Darwin. We will have rain and wind in our area, but it is moving quickly.
Tonight, a cyclone watch is in place for Nhulunbuy to Port MacArthur, including Borroloola, Numbulwar, Aliangoola, Nooka, Gapawiak and Bullman.
At this stage, Borroloola and all the communities on Groote Island will shelter in place, and as you've heard, moves are underway to commence and complete the evacuation of the residents of Numbulwar.
The gymnasium here at Nightcliff High School has been turned into a makeshift evacuation centre. Initially, this hall had been earmarked to house up to 500 evacuees forced to flee their community ahead of Tropical Cyclone Narelle. But organisers now say it remains unclear if they'll all fit.
We've got a team working very hard and tirelessly at the moment, and there's always Plan Bs, and those Plan Bs are getting worked out right now.
The school will remain open, however there will be a separation between the temporary staging centre and the rest of the school with a fence and further petitioning. There will be some disruption to classes.
Flood-ravaged communities staying in Darwin will be transferred to shelters in Bachelor. But with those moves still days away, where new evacuees will be placed is anyone's guess. Courtney Barrett-Peters, ABC News.
The bombing of the world's largest gas fields in the Persian Gulf has marked a significant escalation of hostilities in the Middle East. Here at home, the Albanese government has moved to calm fears of fuel security unveiling a new supply task force to shore petrol supplies up. The full impact of the war on Australia remains uncertain, but the Treasurer is warning prolonged conflict could see inflation jump above 5%.
Emerging from an emergency meeting of the National Cabinet.
I want to assure Australians at this time that Australia is well prepared.
The Prime Minister unveils the nation's new fuel supply coordinator, Anthea Harris, a former head of Australia's energy regulator, to work with the states to get petrol and diesel to where it's needed, as the Middle East conflict fuels prices and panic.
Our nation's fuel supply remains strong and not in doubt.
Demand is still the problem, but no appetite for rationing yet.
My message to Australians is please do not take more fuel than you need.
But signs are emerging of friction around the table.
We want two things to flow: information and fuel.
As leaders were meeting, the competition watchdog revealed it's investigating some of Australia's biggest fuel companies. Ampol, BP, Mobil and Viva probed for potential collusion. It's not our usual practice to publicly announce investigations, the ACCC chair said in a statement, but we recognise the widespread concerns about fuel pricing and supply. With the war battering Australia's economy, the Prime Minister's patience is clearly wearing out. Initially supportive of America's actions, he's now looking to how this conflict ends and hoping that comes quickly.
We'll continue to argue for a de-escalation.
The Treasurer of Australia.
The Treasurer today laying bare the cost to the economy, rising inflation, falling growth and productivity to remain sluggish for longer. But he's not resiling from plans for bigger tax reforms in the budget.
All of this economic uncertainty and volatility is a reason for more reform, not less.
As unemployment rose to 4.3% in February.
An admission of complete and utter failure. Interest rates going up, inflation going up, people working harder for less.
Businesses and households feeling the pain. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
Israel's bombing of the largest natural gas field in the world has prompted a warning from Gulf states that global energy security is at risk. The field sits underneath the Persian Gulf, where hundreds of ships have been stranded as Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz. Holding up to 51 trillion cubic metres of natural gas, the reserve is shared by Iran and Qatar. Israel's attacks have prompted Iran to retaliate, placing vital energy facilities right at the centre of the conflict.
A fire rips through Iran's massive South Pass gas field. Israeli forces targeting Tehran's sector of the world's largest gas reserve. A major escalation set to have a devastating impact on Iran's energy supplies.
So this is really hitting the ability for Iran to keep the lights on.
Just hours later, Iran exacted its revenge. Unverified vision showing the impact of a ballistic missile assault on the Ras Laffan industrial city in Qatar, as Tehran delivers on its promise to attack energy facilities throughout the Gulf.
Fuel, energy and gas infrastructures that are the source of the invasion will be reduced to ashes.
The Qatari government has labelled the strike a flagrant breach of international law, requesting Iranian embassy staff leave the country within 24 hours.
Qatar is not a participant in this conflict, but Iran has chosen to attack unprovoked 12 countries.
Donald Trump has also responded, threatening to blow up the entirety of the South Pass gas field if there are further strikes against Qatar. Inside Tehran, thousands of mourners gather to honour slain Iranian official Ali Larijani and his son Morteza, killed in an Israeli missile attack. Their supporters are vowing to continue the fight.
War until victory. War until we avenge the blood of our loved ones.
Another top Iranian official, Ismail Khatib, has also been killed.
Israel's policy is clear. No one in Iran has immunity and everyone is in the crosshairs.
US and Israeli flags are being burned in the squares of Tehran as the White House attempts to diminish fears of a protracted war.
The President of the United States is not interested in getting us, in the kind of long-term quagmires that we've seen in years past.
Israel is also continuing its heavy bombardment of southern Lebanon. Blasts and debris are causing major destruction in Beirut as well. Hours after an Israeli strike levelled this building, which was more than a dozen stories, you can still see fires are burning in the rubble over there. All the while, the constant buzz of Israeli drones circling above.
We won't pay or surrender or give up our land. I'd rather die.
Living alongside danger, the new normal in this city. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Beirut.
And US Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth is currently providing an update on the war. We'll take you now to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C.
Yesterday at Dover Air Force Base, President Trump, the chairman, and I stood in solemn silence as heroes came home. Flag-draped caskets, we honored them. We grieved with their families, and we listened. What I heard through tears, through hugs, through strength, and through unbreakable resolve was the same from family after family. They said, finish this. Honor their sacrifice. Do not waver. Do not stop until the job is done. My response, along with that of the president, was simple. Of course, we will finish this. We will honor their sacrifice. Their sacrifice only steals our commitment. I wear this bracelet. Staff Sergeant Jorge Oliveira, he was one of my sergeants, or one of my specialists in Guantanamo Bay. He deployed later to Afghanistan, where he was killed on 19 October 2011. Killed 10 years after 9/11, 15 years ago. He was one of the 1%, the best of America. Not just a guardsman, but a law enforcement officer back home and a family man. I remember him every day, just like so many other men and women of our generation and previous generations who wear bracelets like this. Just as we will always remember those lost in this conflict. Their names are now etched into our mission and into the soul of a grateful nation. I stand here today speaking to you, the American people, not through filters, not through reporters, not through cable news spin. A dishonest and anti-Trump press will stop at nothing. We know this at this point. To downplay progress, amplify every cost, and call into question every step. Sadly, TDS is in their DNA. They want President Trump to fail. But you, the American people, know better. Yes, there are reporters in front of me, but they are not our audience today. It's you, the good, decent, patriotic American people. You, the hardworking, tax-paying, God-fearing American patriots. The media here, not all of it, but much of it, wants you to think, just 19 days into this conflict, that we're somehow spinning toward an endless abyss or a forever war or a quagmire. Nothing could be further from the truth. Hear it from me, one of hundreds of thousands who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, who watched previous foolish politicians like Bush, Obama, and Biden squander American credibility. This is not those wars. President Trump knows better. Epic fury is different. It's laser-focused. It's decisive. Our objectives, given directly from our America First president, remain exactly what they were on day one. These are not the media's objectives, not Iran's objectives, not new objectives, our objectives, unchanged, on target, and on plan. Destroy missiles, launchers, and Iran's defense industrial base so they cannot rebuild, destroy their navy, and Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Our objectives from day one. To the patriotic members of the press, nobody can deliver perfection in wartime. This building knows that more than anyone. But report the reality. We're winning decisively and on our terms. Iran is a vast country, and just like Hamas and their tunnels, they've poured any aid, any economic development, humanitarian aid into tunnels and rockets. That's what they did with Hamas. Iran has funneled decades of state resources, not to their people, but into missiles and drones and proxies and buried facilities. But we are hunting them down, methodically, ruthlessly, and overwhelmingly, like no other military in the world can do, and the results speak for themselves. To date, we've struck over 7,000 targets across Iran and its military infrastructure. That is not incremental. That is overwhelming force applied with precision. And again, today will be the largest strike package yet, just like yesterday was. As I've said from day one, our capabilities continue to build, Iran's continue to degrade. We're hunting and striking death and destruction from above. Iran's air defenses flattened. Iran's defense industrial base, the factories, the production lines that feed their missile and drone programs, being overwhelmingly destroyed. We've hit hundreds of their defense industrial bases directly. Their ability to manufacture new ballistic missiles has probably taken the hardest hit of all. Ballistic missile attacks against our forces, down 90% since the start of the conflict. Same with one-way attack UAVs, think kamikaze drones, down 90%. Now, the Iranians will still shoot, we know that, but they would shoot a lot more if they could, but they can't. The last job anyone in the world wants right now? Senior leader for the IRGC or Besiege. Temp jobs, all of them. And to borrow a page from Admiral Ernest King in World War II, we've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half. We've damaged or sunk over 120 of their Navy ships, with battle damage assessments pending for many more. See, oftentimes we have to wait a few days on battle damage assessment to get the real number. Their surface fleet is no longer a factor. Their submarines, they once had 11, are gone. Their military ports are crippled. Iran has terrorized the United States and our interests for 47 years. Their core industries, not steel or agriculture or tourism, their core industries are state-sponsored terrorism, proxy militias, underground networks, ballistic missiles, and a violent, messianic, Islamist ideology chasing some sort of apocalyptic endgame. A regime like that, refusing to abandon its nuclear ambitions, is not just a regional problem. It's a direct threat to America, to freedom, and to civilization. The world, the Middle East, our ungrateful allies in Europe, even segments of our own press should be saying one thing to President Trump. Thank you. Thank you for the courage to stop this terror state from holding the world hostage with missiles while building or attempting to build a nuclear bomb. Thank you for doing the work of the free world. Yesterday's ceremony reminded us why we fight. Not for nation building or democracy promotion, but to crush direct threats to America, Americans, and our interests. We fight to win, and we are winning.
US Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth speaking at the Pentagon. This is the first media briefing that has happened this week. We had a couple of those last week. Among the many things that the Secretary has said in the past half an hour or so is that he and Donald Trump were present as US soldiers that were killed in the Iran war were brought home. He said there were family members there. Those family members asked the president to not stop until the job is done. The Defence Secretary also said today would be the largest strike of the war so far, that so far 120 Iranian ships have been sunk or damaged and all the submarines, 11 of them, are gone. The percentage of Indigenous babies born at a healthy birth weight hasn't improved in 9 years, according to the latest update on Closing the Gap targets. Experts say evidence shows bespoke services led by community are the key to success.
6-month-old Makaide is growing quickly.
Bro, you've put on weight since last Wednesday.
He was born over 2.5 kilos, the benchmark for a healthy life.
You're thriving!
Makaide is being checked at Waminda, an Aboriginal health organisation that places an emphasis on birthing on country. His mum works there too.
It's embedded in our culture, birthing our babies on country, naturally, and just like a place of belonging for us.
But not all babies come into the world like Makaide. The gap in birth weight between Indigenous and non-Indigenous babies has not improved since 2017.
It's like starting a race and you're behind the start line. So babies are small, they're sick, they're susceptible to illness.
The government recently awarded $44 million for birthing on country programs, including Waminda.
We need to reconfigure the system that it's connected, that it's mum and bub centred, but also it's resourced appropriately.
Birth weight and life expectancy are 2 of the 19 closing the gap targets that are not on track to be met. Data shows only 4 are on target, while 4 continue to go backwards, with suicide and adult imprisonment rates worsening.
We're asking governments to think about the urgency of these and certainly thinking about different solutions working with community.
The government says the data reinforces the need to work together, while the opposition says it should be a wake-up call. The ultimate goal, a generation healthy and thriving. Tani Jash, ABC News.
Hundreds of Tasmanians have turned out to greet Queen Mary of Denmark during her first official visit to her home state in more than 20 years. People lined Hobart's waterfront to see Mary and King Frederick, bearing flags, flowers, gifts, even royal tattoos. Early in the day, the royal couple took a boat ride on the River Derwent, stopping for a snap with some sea creatures. They also, they also enjoyed a Danish group performance at the Museum of Old and New Art before finishing their official tour of Australia at a state reception.
It has been extremely touching for both Frederick and I to feel so much warmth and interest. So thank you for making our time here unforgettable.
"21 degrees in Perth tonight before a partly cloudy Friday and a top of 28 degrees. In Broome, showers and 33 degrees. Far North Queensland, of course, waiting for Tropical Cyclone Narelle to hit sometime in the early hours or mid-morning tomorrow. As well as that, showers for Brisbane and 28 degrees, Sydney showers and 27, possible storms for Canberra. In Melbourne, partly cloudy and 22, Hobart, partly cloudy and 23 degrees. Adelaide expecting a mostly clear Friday with a top of 27. And that is ABC Late News to the moment. I'm Michael Tetlow, thanks for your company. Bye for now.